I came up with the dunk and egg stuff. I was particularly attracted. That whole story is built around a tournament, and I love medieval tournaments and reading about them, writing about them. But this was an opportunity in a time of peace, not war, to look at a medieval tournament with all its pageantry and the jousting and the combat, and reveal a little of Westerosi history.
In a recent blog post, George R. R. Martin dropped some photos from the set where they're filming The Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the next spin-off in his world. I'm not including any spoilers from the 3 novellas that this series is based on, but those unfamiliar with the story, here's the description from HBO. A century before the events of Game of Thrones, 2 unlikely heroes wandered Westeros, a young, naive, but courageous knight, Sir Duncan the Tall, and his diminutive squire, Egg. Set in an age when the Targaryen line still holds the Iron Throne, and the memory of the last dragon has not yet passed from living memory, great destinies, powerful foes, and dangerous exploits all await those improbable and incomparable friends. As we know, Martin was not happy with the second season of House of the Dragon. He attacked Condell, Hess, and the other writers on the show in September in a critical blog post that detailed what those of us that read Fire and Blood already knew: that House of the Dragon is not a faithful adaptation of his Dance of the Dragon story. Martin called the impact of this writing toxic butterflies, speaking of the butterfly effect in a story where changes large and small destroy everything. In contrast, though, George is very excited about the first season of The Night of the Seven Kingdoms that will air sometime in 2025. In his blog, George recounted his trip to the set in Belfast this summer. I'm going to include the photos he posted on his site as I read through some of the description from his blog. Heading up to the shoot, I was anxious as I was eager. Night of the Seven Kingdoms is a smaller show than either Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, with a much smaller budget, but I really want it to be great. 90% of the story is set in a field surrounded by tents. We would not need the huge sets the other shows had featured, but it couldn't look fake or cheap either. And the costumes and the heraldry and the fights all had to be splendid. And I was so happy when I got there and saw what Ira and his team has built. Meeting the cast was also a thrill. Despite the drizzle and the mud, the excitement on the set was palpable. Everyone I met was in great spirits and loved what they were doing. And Duncan Egg, Peter Claffey, and Dexter Soul Ansel, respectively, looked as if they just walked out of the pages of my book, and the chemistry between them was just perfect. A few weeks after I got back home, I saw a rough cut of the first episode. I loved it. I can't wait to see more. I know, Martin has been excited like this in the past, and he's been burned. He trusted Ryan Condell with the lore and had his work shredded. But George is the primary scriptwriter for this one, and with the show being on a much smaller scale, they can't fall back upon spectacle to capture the audience. I'm hoping that we'll see writing like we had in those early seasons of Game of Thrones, with some much-needed levity sprinkled into the story, too. And while I can understand why some people won't want to give another series a chance after what happened with House of the Dragon this past season, I'm still optimistic about this show. When we'll see the series is still not set. The post-production here won't take as long as the other series, and the first season is only going to be 6 episodes. HBO has hinted at late 2025, but in his blog, George says he's hoping for spring, so we'll have to wait and see. Let me know in the comments if you'll be giving The Night of the Seven Kingdoms a chance, or if you'll be passing on this one. If you enjoyed this one, make sure to hit the like button. If you're interested in more on House of the Dragon and A Song of Ice and Fire, listen to Caraxes and subscribe. I want to thank everyone for watching, and I'll see you soon.